A message brother and sister told me that the Jeffersonville courthouse still had records for both the prophet and Roy Davis. They also informed me that the records were freely available. A person could simply walk into the building and grab a book of records off the many shelves, open it, and read. In this day and age, that was both highly unusual and fortunate for my inescapable curiosity. I made a quick trip and found records dating all the way back to the 1800s. It took some time for me to learn how the system worked. There were rows and rows of books stacked floor to ceiling in multiple rooms, some of which had tables that allowed me to lay them down, open them, and read. They were heavy books and brittle. Not only did I have to handle each book with extreme care to keep them intact, I had to make sure that they were placed back in the correct order. Under the tables were even more rows of books, often in unusual or disorganized sequences. One rack on the left-hand side of the room might stop at one set of years and continue under the table with another set of years, and finish on another wall with the remaining years. There were several different rooms filled with books, schematics, and other documents. One room contained all the property records, including maps with the layouts of each neighborhood in the city, archived by year. Those maps were numbered, and each number was used in another room to access the purchase, tax, and other history of the properties. Yet another room contained the deed to each property. One room contained the records of civil and criminal court records. It was almost overwhelming. The couple had found the deed for the church when it was transferred from Roy E. Davis Sr. to his son, Roy E. Davis Jr. Roy Davis's Pentecostal church was officially sold May 10, 1934. They had given me a copy of the document, which I was also able to find at the courthouse. With those documents, specifically the dates of each document, I could then travel to the nearby public library and search through the rolls of microfiche containing the newspaper archives. By looking at the roll containing the first few months of 1934, I was able to link a newspaper article to a court record. With the court record and the newspaper article, I was able to search the transcripts of the prophet's sermons and establish a timeline. The prophet's timelines were not always accurate, but by matching his descriptions, I could link a story in the timeline to the actual recorded history. A few days after Roy E. Davis Sr. sold the church property to his son, on May 29, 1934, the newspapers contained the first mention of the prophet in the newspapers having a congregation. Roy Davis's church had closed, according to both the prophet and the newspapers had burned down, and the land had been given to his son. From all appearances, Davis had handed his congregation over to the prophet. The prophet said that he was Davis's assistant pastor until Davis's Pentecostal church had burned. According to the permit, this happened in April of 1934. After the church burned, all traces of Roy Davis seemed to disappear and did not reappear until the mid-1940s when the prophet first started his healing ministry. This made me even more curious. What would make Davis decide to abandon his congregation and leave town?